Welcome to AM. My name's Richard Conway, and this is the platform for age group multisport athletes to showcase their journeys. Welcome along. It's great to be back. Those 2 weeks have absolutely flown by. We're now into September. Thought the weather was going to go for a big nosedive, but this week we've had some really decent weather. So on this month's episode we have vegan entrepreneur and competitive athlete Lisa Gawthorne. And Lisa has represented Team GB in European and World Duathlon Championships since 2017. And she tells us of her experience from a non-sporting background as a child, growing up, and how she got into running. And then, through injury, how she got into riding a bike. And somebody mentioned that, maybe you should put the two together. And she tells us how she got into duathlon and then onto the GB and the European and the world stage. So great story. And we talk a little bit about veganism at the end. And she's an absolute oracle of knowledge. And it's a really good listen. So I hope you enjoy that. This last fortnight's gone really quickly. Can't believe it. We're doing another podcast already. I finally made the decision to pull out of the ETU triathlon over in Valencia. We figured out that not fit enough, injury still not good. I finally bit the bullet and got a doctor's appointment, and I've since been along to physio, and I'm just awaiting an appointment for treatment on the back of my knee. Gives a few exercises to stretch out and keep doing. So yeah, unfortunately won't be going there this year. Just didn't think I could do it justice, so decided to pull out. But still been doing a bit of swimming. We went open water swimming again at Ocean Walker's venue over in Rugby near us. Fantastic venue. I'm still pursuing the different style of swimming that Adam Walker himself showed us. So cracking on with that. Got to get another couple of hours booked in with Adam to see what he thinks and give us some more pointers and try and improve the stroke even further, but enjoying it at the moment, so that's pretty good. Actually went out on the TT bike on Sunday, so we're supposed to be doing the Dam Buster. Mrs. C was going to do the whole try, however she slammed the garden gate on her hand, so now she can't ride a bike because she can't hold the handlebars. So we decided that as I can't run and she can't ride a bike, we would be a great team as usual. So I'm going to do the bike leg of the Dam Buster, which is this Saturday, I believe. So thought I'd better get out on the TT bike and give it a go, see how I get on. Done quite a lot of Zwifting, but I haven't been out on the bike that much, to be honest. And been listening to a few podcasts, some good ones over the last couple of weeks. One of my favourites is Helen Murray's The Insider Try Show. She has some great conversations on there, and really, really good listen usually. And the one I've listened to recently is pro triathlete Kimberly Morrison, who was disappointed that Kona was postponed this year, and she's gone on and I think she decided that she was doing the Norseman, which I believe's already happened. I haven't caught up to see how she's doing, but that was a good show. Was listening to What's Occurring by Geraint Thomas, the cyclist, and Luke Rowe, and they discuss all things cycling, so that's pretty good as well. I enjoy that. You get the lowdown on and the inside information on Team Ineos and the races that they're in. And it's just two cycling professional mates having a chat, but really funny, really entertaining. Don't usually pull any punches, and if you're into cycling, it's quite a good one to listen to. And the last one that I've been listening to quite a long time is Nutritional Facts with Dr. Gregor. And he's all about health and well-being, and he discusses all things nutritional research, and from things like effects of avocado on inflammation, and he's even got a load of healthy recipes on there. So that's he's on YouTube as well, so he's got loads of videos on YouTube, and it's all for free, and it's pretty good if you're into nutrition and what it does to you. So that's a cool thing. Also, was finished watching the Vuelta cycling. Primož Roglic has won that for the third time in a row. Absolutely smashed it. Nobody was near him, and that was really good. Well, the last week was the best. Watched the Super League and the Triathlon the weekend, and that was good fun. What a laugh that is. And the Brits did well. The girls were like 4 out of the top 5, so that was fantastic to see. Jess Lamont won the whole thing for the ladies, and they had a bit of a different dimension on it this time because they were all put into teams as well. So not only were they racing for themselves, but they were racing for points for teams. So, but that was really fun. So if you haven't watched that, see if you can catch up on it. I think you watch it on iPlayer. So yeah, that was good fun. Finally, just started watching, which the Vuelta finished and the Tour of Britain's just started. So unfortunately, it's not coming anywhere near me. It goes from Cornwall and pretty much Wales, and then finishes in Scotland. I think they do go across from Cumbria to Newcastle, and then they finish up in Aberdeen. So it is a right tour of Britain. So some big names like Mark Cavendish and Julian Alaphilippe, the world champion, are there. So yeah, that should be a good race. So I'll be watching that this week. Yeah, I think that's basically it. Finally, my lifestyle hack at the end of the podcast is going to be about sprouting seeds. So yeah, I hope you enjoy all that. And yeah, I think that's about it. So I shall, we'll get on with the main event, which is Lisa Gawthorne, and I shall see you on the other side. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this. I know you're very busy with everything that you've got going on. Much appreciated. I think we best start off with a little bit of your background growing up as a kid and sporting activities. That would be a good place to start. Are you based in Liverpool?
Yeah, just outside Liverpool in the coastal town of Formby. Right. So literally the beach is 800 metres away from my front door.
Cool, nice. Sounds idyllic.
It's good for running, definitely.
Yeah, I bet it is, yeah. So what did you do as a kid then, as sporting wise?
Do you know what? I actually, truth be told, I wasn't all that sporty when I was a kid. I went to quite a strict grammar school, Olmsted Grammar School, and the sports that were really kind of put on us there were things like hockey and netball and tennis. I really didn't enjoy any of them, if I'm being completely honest. I think it was quite difficult because, unfortunately, we didn't have a big focus on running in our school. It was, as I say, it was very much hockey for the girls and rugby for the boys. So I really didn't, although I've always been kind of active and I did a lot of walking, and my house was 2.5 miles away from the school and I'd walk there and back every day. So I've always had that kind of active gene, definitely in the main set. But I think I really didn't get into fitness and gym work probably until I started kind of going to university. Because it was at that time when I thought it's quite a nice way to battle with anxiety and to give me a bit of freedom in between prepping for exams and doing dissertations and things like that. And I really kind of reaped the benefits from that. I thought it was a good little stress-free zone to just escape into. So started running in the kind of early noughties. And then didn't really get picked up to go running for a club until about 2007. I did a local 10K and finished third in it, and then I was approached by Liverpool Pembroke Sefton, the running club that I'm with to this day. And I can't really say anything other than it was the best thing I ever did joining the running club, because my times just came down, immeasurably. Sort of my first 10K, I think it was 51 minutes. I've got that down to 38:40 as a PB. And my 5K's down to 18:39 as well. So it's been fantastic, just to be around like-minded people. But yeah, it's not really the classical way, because I wasn't pushed down the sports route when I was younger. And as I say, there was sports I just really wasn't involved in, with things like that, the hockey and netball routes.
Yeah. So the academic side was taking precedence over anything else, I guess. What did you do at university?
I did a degree in business studies, majoring in marketing as well. So it was a 4-year sandwich degree at Liverpool John Moores. So it was 2 years in university, and then it was a year out in industry, where I cut my teeth in the marketing world and worked for Chewits as a marketing executive, and then went back to finish my last year in uni, my 4th year, where I did my dissertation on new product development. So, I mean, I am quite a nerd, if I'm being honest, and very kind of studious. So I was pretty happy to come out with a first class honours degree in business studies and marketing. So that was a pretty cool thing to do. And to be honest, I've carried on my learning as well. I've done various postgrad certificates through the IGD and through Goldman Sachs and the likes and things like that, because I really do love learning. I think that knowledge is power, as they always say. And I mean, all my business kind of experience, I decided to stay within the Northwest. Didn't want to go down to London, where a lot of graduates actually migrated down to London, but I stayed in the Northwest. So I worked for Chewits. I also worked for Vimto, the soft drinks company. I worked for Premier Foods as well. So I've done a lot of marketing on things like Jammy Dodgers and Cadbury's Fingers and Vimto and Chewits and everything. And obviously amassing all of those skills in confectionery and children's products and impulse products, it's just given me the perfect platform really to go out on my own and to develop some of those products in a better way and in better formats.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a little bit, but we'll go back to your running. So they're fantastic times that you've just said that you've achieved, and I totally agree with you about running with a club, because that brought me on no end. Although I was in a tri club, I joined an athletics club as well, as I've said before on the pod, and it brought me on so much. So that's one piece of advice for any triathletes out there. Go and join an athletics club if there's one local, because it's a great thing to do. So from the running, how did you get into triathlon then?
Well, funny enough, I've never done a triathlon.
I was just going to say, I'll rephrase that question. How did you get into duathlon?
So the reason why I've never done a triathlon is because I'm the worst swimmer ever. You just wouldn't want to see me in a swimming pool. It's a nightmare. But I got into duathlon, funnily enough, strangely, through injury. And I've met quite a lot of people that have got into duathlon through injury. So prior to 2016, I was just running every day and doing heavy mileage and getting injured left, right, and centre, because I was just doing too much on the legs. And wasn't really giving my body that much time to recover. And then so much so, in December of 2016, I had a small knee operation, just an arthroscopy to shave off some of the fat pad on the knee that was impinging on the movements. And my physio and my whole recovery from that particular operation was 6 months of getting stronger on a bike and getting the muscles to actually move again by using the bike. Now the weather at the time here in Bromley wasn't great, so I didn't fancy going out on the road, so I bought myself a watt bike. I'd read a lot about them, and again, being a bit of a nerd, I liked the fact that I had all the data to analyse and stuff. So I started to rehab on the watt bike, and obviously in the early days it was quite slow, and it was all about getting the muscle movement. But then I kind of fell in love with cycling and a whole new world that I didn't even realise it was there for me, because I was so focused for many years on just running, and that's all you get taught at a running club as well. That I kind of just fell in love with it. So I bought my first road bike in 2016, And then I thought to myself, do you know what? I wonder if there's a sport that combines these two sport that combines these two epic disciplines. And then I just realised there was, and it was called duathlon.
Yeah.
So I entered my first duathlon. It was just a go try event at Manchester Airport.
All right.
Just literally to dip my toe in the water and to see what it would be like. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It just felt so much more exhilarating and thrilling than just running a race. Obviously a lot goes into running a race, and I'm not taking that away from runners because I'm one myself, but there's something very magical about doing a run, then hopping onto a bike and then doing another run. For me, it's just so much more of a challenge and so much more thrilling. So having done that particular race, I think I finished second in that race, second female. I decided then to go to one of the ones at Alton Park, which was a European qualifier actually. So in my first real duathlon outside of a go try event, I ended up qualifying for the Europeans, which were held in Surrey in 2017. And then a couple of months later, I did the same down in, I think it was Bedford, and qualified for the Worlds, which were held in Canada. And since then, because the British Tri Circuit is so epic and there's so many cool people around and the races are amazing, you get to go some cool places. I've just kept it in my repertoire, and I've loved the whole journey of getting faster on the bike, getting stronger on the bike, watching what it does to the run time, seeing how the two sports can bounce off each other, bringing in some weight training to that as well, and that really is how I actually got into duathlon. Just if I wouldn't have got injured, I don't know if I ever would have gone down that road, because I think I would have just carried on just running. So it was really good for me. And the beauty about it now is that fortunately I carry less injuries or fewer injuries, because I'm splitting it up. So a day on bike, a day running, a day on bike, a day on running, rather than that constant need to be out on the pavements running every day.
Yeah, isn't it strange how things work out? Like you said, if it wasn't for an injury, you would never have got to do the multi-sport of duathlon.
Yeah.
So had you heard of, when you did your first one and then you said you qualified at Alton Park, had you done any more before that? And how did you find out about age group then?
So there was a really nice friendly girl, a girl that finished first at the Go Try event in Manchester. And she came over and talked to me afterwards, and she said, "Oh, you need to go and do Alton Park. You'll have a great time there." And she actually mentioned it's also a European qualifier. And at that point, I decided to join a local tri club called Mersey Tri, and then they gave me a bit of advice on it, and I pieced together the parts of what that lady had told me and what Mersey Tri told me, and then obviously had a little look around the British Triathlon website and thought, this is a bit of me, this. And then went from there with it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Because it is that investigation. I mean, so many people who've been on have asked that question, and it's usually the same answer. They've either found somebody's mentioned it, or somebody in a race has been wearing a GB tri suit and thinking they've gone up to them and asked them, you know what I mean? So it's usually, it's not, I said to Nicky Dick a few episodes ago, it's not blatantly obvious that it's a thing to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless you know, or you're in a tri club, or it's not that, which is a shame really, because I think it would, there must be some way of getting it just out there, to the public. And not, triathlon's obviously more well known, but a lot of people don't know about duathlon or aquathon or aquabike, and they're all sports in their own right, it needs to be a bit more broadcasted, I think, and
definitely. Whenever I speak to anyone about it, I never just say I do duathlon, because people look at me like that. So I always say I do duathlon, which is run, bike, run. Because without that, you just get a blank kind of look.
That's right. Yeah, so that's pretty good. I was at Sawyer as well. It was a bit of a strange location, wasn't it? And not very good weather either, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
I think we were quite lucky because it didn't start snowing till the standard race.
That's right.
You did the sprint.
I did the sprint, yeah. And you know what? For that first year, for me, it was all just about finding my feet, meeting people, understanding how the community works, didn't put any pressure on myself. I think I came 16th in my age group, and it was just really about understanding how it all works. And obviously, sorry for the sprint athletes, it was a massive hill climb as well. So it was about doing a bit of hill training before we went out there, and understanding, from that point on what it actually meant just to not go around here on the flat in Formby. And Canada was a bit different. Yes, there were hills, but the scenery kind of made it so much more of a distraction. So I did a lot better in Canada. And each year, what I've been really trying to do is I don't really put myself in a pressured environment where I think to myself, I've got a podium or I want to finish within the top. So I just think to myself, I just got to do my best, and wherever that brings me out is wherever it brings me out. And it just so happens that mentality has meant, if you plot my progress over the last 4 years, I have got fitter, I have got faster, and I've got better placements.
Yeah, great. So have you qualified since Canada then?
Yes, yeah, every year. So the second year I did the Europeans. Actually, I had a little go at the European cross duathlon. I had to go at the cross in Ibiza, which, because I love my mountain bike, and I go in the woods here on the mountain bike a lot. So I did that, and that was a real hard race to do. I mean, I just couldn't believe the inclines we were looking at, and having to ride over boulders bigger than my head was just like, whoa, this is very different to the road.
Yeah. I believe Nikki Dick was racing there as well, and she said that she hadn't looked at the course, but the people who had looked at the course previous were like really fretting about it. So
yeah. So it was quite, to be honest, that was quite, it was intimidating for me, because I mean, it's just so different. People think, oh yeah, well, I do it on the road, I'll be okay, and I'll be able to just transition. And yes, to a certain extent, some of the handling skills are the same, but you can't prepare yourself for, some of the sections, men were actually chucking the bike on the shoulder and actually running around with it, and it's just like, wow, you're going 2 miles an hour up a hill, versus 23 miles an hour on the flat. So that was quite character building, but I enjoyed it. And you know what, I might actually do another one in the future, because I did enjoy it, and because it was so hard and so tough. Mentally, I think you grow from it, and physically you come out with some real good gains from that, knowing that you push your body to a whole new level. So I did the Europeans in Ibiza, and then I did the Worlds in Denmark, in Fyn, which was great, great location, and again, lots of community stuff going on there, and again got faster that year. I can't remember my placement, but it was definitely, I think it was top 10 for Finn, which was fantastic. And then the third year went out to we did Transylvania.
Really good. Really enjoyed that.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was really, really amazing. The highlight for me at that particular race was spending time with the absolute legends that was Maurice Young as well. He was just amazing, honestly. I actually said to Glyn Bevins, who was the team manager at the time, I actually want to adopt him. I want to adopt him as like my granddad or something, because he is just amazing. The nicest person I've ever met in sport. So well mannered, so professional, and so friendly. And I was so proud to be there, and I videoed him coming through, and I was there to literally give him so much support. And I was the first person to give him a hug when he came over the line. And that'll be something in sport that will stay with me for the rest of my life, because the man he was so amazing and such an inspiration, and that made my race. That literally was worth going out there for. It really was.
I met Maurice before my first race for GB in Soria, and he was such a calming influence before that race. It was just such a gentle man. It was just so calming, and he was just like you said, once met, never forgotten.
Absolutely, 100%. And then that particular year, the Worlds were in Spain again. Actually, they were in Pontevedra, which was another tough sprint course with quite a big hill. But again, got much more. I think I ended up being 8th or maybe even 7th, either 7th, 8th, or 9th. So that was really good. And then obviously 2020, the year of COVID happened, so obviously everything was cancelled. But I was fortunate to be in the team that went away to Ponterumbria.
Yeah, I was there as well.
Yeah, I remember. So we were very fortunate to get away. We really were.
We were.
I mean, literally, I think a day or two after we landed, everything was closed and locked down, and that was it. Good night, God bless. So we did very well. And actually, strangely, that was my strongest position, I think. Do you know, I'm terrible for remembering all my positions, but I think it was either sixth in that, sixth or seventh age group. So I've been climbing down and climbing up the ladder all the time.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and then we're on to this year now, where obviously we unfortunately had the Europeans cancelled in Target Morris, which was obviously a loss, but we rolled it over till next year. And then we've got the Worlds in September. The new Worlds that was the Worlds in Holland is now the Worlds in Spain, first week in November, which obviously I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, cool. It's good. So you've had a good run.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being very addicted to it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to it not just because of what it does for you as a sport, but for the people that are around it. I've met some of the most amazing people. Obviously, I've already mentioned Morris, but just the community vibe that goes on in multisport. I find, and some runners might think I'm speaking out of turn here, but I find multisport is so much more friendly than just running.
I've heard that said before.
Yeah, I really do. It's people. I find people are more approachable. There's a real positive vibe. Everyone wants to help each other. And to me, it's like going on holiday with a big gang of your mates every time.
Yeah. Well, we always make a holiday out of it, to be honest. So
exactly, yeah, we're the same. I always try and drag my boyfriend with me. My sister's coming with me actually in November this year. I always have to bring someone to carry the bags, but we always make some kind of holiday out of it. So you get the best of both worlds. You've got a holiday and a race, which is perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Are you coached at the moment then? Or have you just coached yourself through it all? I know you said you were in like the athletics club and the tri club. Other than those coaches, do you have your own coach?
Yes, I do. So I'm coached by a gentleman called Ian Roberts. And Ian actually, I've met with Ian at Liverpool Pembroke Sefton, and he's a great cyclist, a great runner, and has been on multiple circuits over the years. And he's got a business called Prime Triathlon Coaching. So I'm with Ian, and I've been with Ian really since the start in one guise or another. He's a great guy. He puts up with the fact that I'm non-contactable quite a lot of the time because I'm either traveling on business or working on big projects. He just gives me the sessions, I do them, and I see good results from them. And to be honest, I wouldn't be where I am now without Ian's coaching, because I can coach myself to a certain extent on the run scene because I've been doing it for so long, alongside my coach Mark Bleasdale at Pembroke Sefton. But biking is a whole new area, and I do think that you need that kind of coach in the background pushing you and giving you new sessions. And when I first met Ian and he started to talk to me about we need to test out your FTP and this, that, and the other, he was talking to me in a whole new language, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? All I know is the minute mile. So I think getting to meet a coach and getting to actually understand the terminology and how that kind of transforms into the bigger race picture has been absolutely essential. And we've got some really, really good, strong athletes in Prime, and I'm looking forward to continuing to fly the flag for them moving forward.
Good, yeah. Most triathletes that have been on, our multisporters that have been on, our coach, to be fair, or have been in some guise or the other. So, what's your favourite race been?
At the risk of sounding repetitive, I think because of the opportunity of getting to know Morris out in Romania, and also the beautiful settings of Romania, and getting out and seeing Dracula's castle and things like that, I think that would be one of the most memorable. Certainly not the most enjoyable from a personal performance point of view, because I pulled my calf in the first kilometre of the first 5K, which was horrendous. I had to run round for another 4K with a calf that felt like a piece of wood. And how I finished that race even to this day, and I look at all the photos of me finishing it and I'm just grimacing. It was so painful, but you know, an hour later I was so elated to watch Morris come through the line, and it was like all my worries had just gone. So it was a bittersweet kind of day. So I'd say that was probably one of the most memorable. But I think in terms of my favourite, probably would have been Canada. Because it was just unreal. It was, you know, to actually be out on a bike and to see deer eating peaches off trees, to see the wonderful lakes, and to hear about all the local wildlife. Obviously, I'm a massive animal activist, so anything to do with wildlife and animals just really captures my imagination. So I think that was just so memorable, and I got to meet loads of really great people on that. Claire Hall, who was obviously a double gold medalist from last year. You know, we were racing quite closely together at that event, and it was just definitely one of those kind of surreal moments. One minute I was on a sun lounger having a non-alcoholic cocktail. Next minute I was doing the Sprint Duathlon. So it was pretty magic, to be honest.
Good, yeah, great answer. And that's what age group's all about, isn't it? And multi-sport in general. You're just making so many memories, aren't you? You look back and it's just fantastic. And I think that's why it's addictive, and you get the bug and you just want to do it again and again. You know, it's
definitely. I think if you love travel and you love sports, you know, this kind of option is perfect for you. It will cost you a lot of money because obviously you've got to travel a lot and buy all the kit, but it is worth it. And I always look at I make these photo books each year as a Christmas present for my boyfriends. And they're getting bigger and bigger because we're going to so many events. And like you say, it's full of such magical memories that if I wasn't involved in multi-sports, I wouldn't have any of those memories, and I wouldn't have met all these amazing people. And I am inspired by every single person I meet on the multi-sport journey, because I always believe there's something you can learn from someone else, whether it's how humble they are, or how much effort they put into their training, or how they juggle being a mum or a new father with training, or juggling business. You know, everyone's got their own personal challenges, and I am just bowled over and inspired by everyone that I meet on the multi-sport circuit, because it takes a lot to juggle disciplines with everything else that's going on in personal lives.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, since I've started this podcast, meeting all these great people and the stories, and they've all got a story and they're all different. They're just, like you've just said, they're just so inspiring. It's just really, really good. Yeah. What's your favourite bit of kit?
You know, I'm probably going to sound like a robot here, but I love my Nike Vaporflies. I absolutely love them. I think they're great in terms of the cushioning and the bounce, but they just, for me, when I put them on, I feel like Zebedee. It just gives me such a spring forward. So it's either my Nike Vaporflies, or I've just recently invested in the Asics Meta Speed Sky, which are unbelievable as well. Also carbon plate and all the foam, etc. I'm actually racing in them tonight. At 5K mid Cheshire, but it would be like, if I had one thing to do, it would be taking either one of those pairs of trainers somewhere with me, because I just think that they're fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, it's usually either trainers or a bike. That's the most common answer to that question.
Do you know what? I should have really just thought about that, because it's a close tie, obviously, with my new TT bike. My boyfriend bought me the new Liv Avow Pro Advanced TT bike for my birthday in May. So it's the equivalent of the Giant Trinity, and it is just an absolute beast. So I think that's, in fairness, that's good with those trainers.
Yeah, nice one. So what are your favourite books, blogs, resources that you use for helping you out in multisport?
Blogs wise, I tend to just keep up to speed with, well, your podcast for one of them, because you learn a hell of a lot. And like you say, you know, everyone's got their own inspiring stories. So I always listen to this podcast. And I keep up to speed with, obviously, very pro-vegan in the world of vegan athletics. So I keep up to speed with a lot of inspiring vegans on Great Vegan Athletes. .com and also vegan runners and things like that. I look a lot at what the vegan sporting community are doing on plant-based news as well. My boyfriend's actually just bought me a brand new book on multi-sport and on multi-sport coaching kind of plans and stuff. So I'll have a look at that when I'm next away. But yeah, I'd say that podcast, yours has got to be up there with one of the most inspiring because it's real. Everyone's got real stories, and I think that that's a big thing to. Oh, who's this?
Sorry, she's making a bit of a fuss. This is Betty.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she's making a bit of a fuss. I think I'm just going to have to open the bathroom door, let her have a drink.
Go for it.
Yeah, it's just she bangs her tail when she wants my attention against the wall.
Oh, she's
Betty. She's a cross between an Alsatian and an Old English sheepdog.
Oh, fantastic! She's gorgeous.
She is absolutely she's darling. Sorry, go on.
No, you're fine. And the other thing is, I just keep up to speed with things that are on British Triathlon as well. I find that the British Triathlon site is probably one of the most frequently visited sites for me, just to have a look at fixtures and to have a look at how people are doing the races. And there's a lot of good advice on there. And I follow them on Instagram and Facebook as well, because they do put up videos and they offer a lot of advice and stuff. So I'd say that's it really. I mean, I don't really believe in information overload. I think that if you've got good coaching and you've got your equipment right and you're doing the right things, you're eating the right things, you can easily do kind of paralysis by analysis. And I'm more of a kind of a fan of selective kind of reading on that front.
Yeah. Keeping it as simple as possible, eh?
Yeah, because I think we've got enough to worry about on race day and on the prep for race day that you can just you can be lost all day. I'm sure everyone would agree that you can easily get lost in all these things every single day, but it's about having the time and thinking about what really matters to you with regards to your personal training plan.
Yeah, perfect. So last one on the sporting front, what are your short-term and your long-term goals for multi-sport?
So for multi-sport, well, at the moment, what I've been doing is I've just been doing a few sort of stepping stone events and races on the run front. So what I've been doing is my plan this year has been I've been doing kind of entering 5Ks and 10Ks, doing the 1500s and things like that to try and get my 5K time nice and sharp. And then the big thing for me is I'm a fairly strong runner, but I need to still continue to put work in on the bike. So it was only this year that I started doing TTs, and I've been doing quite well on the TTs. I would like to get my TT for 10 mile into the 25s. Currently it's at 26:04, because I think that will help me massively with regards to the short term and the medium and long term with regards to multi-sport progress. And in multi-sport as a total, really, I just want to go out to a village in Spain. I just want to do my best. That's all I ever do. I don't put myself under any pressure to think I've got to have finished here, there, or anywhere. I want to do my best. I want to run as fast as I can. I want to bike as strong as I can, and finish with the head high, knowing that I've put everything in, really. Because the big challenge for me is I have to juggle multi-sport with business, and business takes up a hell of a lot of my time. So I'm very fortunate to be able to get out for a run on my dinner hour or to do some biking after work, and if I can fit racing in on top of that, then that's a big plus.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't forget that actually it's a pastime, it's a hobby, isn't it? And
yeah,
unfortunately, it's not something unless you're fortunate enough to be retired age or whatever, then you can take it even more seriously, but not saying
absolutely.
Not saying that we don't take it seriously, because we all do. But yeah, no, I mean it must be quite tough for you as a business owner to try and get it fitted in around that priority. So you're doing really, really well.
It is.
Yeah. So moving on to that then, I think my first question is going to be, how long have you been a vegan, and how did you get into it, and why?
Well, I've been vegetarian since age 6.
Right.
So 1987 I turned vegetarian.
Why was that?
because, believe it or not, I had a leaflet through the door that was in. I always used to run to the door whenever the papers came to the door, and I'd always read the paper first. And a leaflet dropped out of one of the papers, and it was from the charity PETA, which obviously is an animal-based charity. And it was just an informative leaflet, but it was done in like a cartoon style format. And I was also into cartoon drawing as a child, and I did a lot of animation and art and things like that. So it resonated with me straight away. And it just basically educated people to the whole kind of the kind of provenance and where meat and fish and dairy and everything comes from. And it was at that point, I know I was only young, I was only age 6, but there was quite clear diagrams on there that said, you know, if you eat beef, it comes from a cow. You know, if you eat ham, it comes from a pig, etc. And making that kind of straight transition and understanding, right, okay, this is the link. I just had a quick chat to my parents about it, and it was quite a strong-willed 6-year-old. And I just said, "Is it true, Mum? Is it true, Dad? You know, are these foods we're eating, are the animals?" And bless my parents, who were completely open and honest with me, and they said, "Well, yeah, that they are, but that's what people kind of do." And I just said, "Well, it's not what I'm going to do." You know, I love my cat, and I don't see any difference in my cat to a pig, to a cow, to a dog. So I basically told them I wouldn't be eating any meat or fish. And in fairness, we were I'd say we were a flexitarian family anyway. There was very minimal stuff that was put on the plate, but it was always there as an addition. So my mum and dad just ignored me and thought she's going through a phase. We'll just carry on putting the stuff on the plate. And then they realised, obviously, no, she's not eating it. So we're going to have to go out and get some alternatives. Now, you can imagine back in 1987, there wasn't a hell of a lot of alternatives on the market. And that was me just being vegetarian, not vegan. So I did spend a childhood and right through my teens actually surviving on things like bird's eye vegetable fingers, which are one of the only things out there. Yeah. And it was tough. It was tough actually. So going through school and kind of college, people kind of thinking you're a little bit strange, a little bit hippie, and a little bit out there. But I just followed my own path. It's always what I wanted to do, and I've always felt a real deep, strong connection to animals. And I don't know, maybe it was a gazelle in a previous life, maybe it was took down by a tiger, I don't know, but I feel very emotionally connected to them, to a level that is primary what I stand for in life. So yeah, it was always my kind of plan and my aim to go vegan. The more and more that I went through my life and thought about the impact on the environment and the impact on my own health and also animals, etc. I made that transition in 2003. So just when I was coming to the end of my university life. And again, back in 2003, there wasn't a great deal of vegan food on the market. So, you know, I was surviving on things, just basic stuff like tofu and soy milk were quite hard to get back then. You know, specialist shops only, certainly not in supermarkets. But I stuck with it because, you know, morally that's what I'm made of. And I've just loved being able to promote that message. So over the years, I've worked closely with organisations like PETA and Veganuary and the Vegan Society, all of which I'm ambassadors for. And I just love spreading the message that, you know, plant-based eating and vegan eating certainly doesn't hold you back in sport, and as well as being great for the environment and great for the animals, it's great for your health and can actually push you forward as an athlete. I know it is tough, and you'd actually think, you know, we're in the year 2021 now, and there's so many documentaries out that are pushing things forward. You know, the David Attenborough documentaries, the new one that's been narrated by Kate Winslet, everything that's going on about climate change and you know, too much livestock and overproduction of cattle, etc. And when you put it out, for me, everything in life is normally comes down to a formula, and the formula for me is we are actually, at the risk of sounding like, you know, a tree hugging environmentalist, but you know, hey ho, that's what you've got to be if you care about the world these days. If you are, you know, eating a lot of meat and eating a lot of dairy, you've got to be mindful of the fact that, number one, it's not the best thing for the environment. So you're obviously not really environmentally led. Number two, if you've got kids, it's not the best thing that you're doing for their future, because the whole idea here is that if you've got kids and younger generations, you want to make their future as bright as possible. But by continuing down that road, you're actually making it a real nasty future for them to live in, which I couldn't live with myself if I had kids doing that. And number three, it's the whole compassionate living, really. If you've got pets, there's no difference between, a cat, a dog, a pig, a cow. They're all the same. They're all sentient beings. So I think that when it comes down to that formula, and you speak to people on those basic formulas, and you say, well, it's the best thing for the animals, your health, the environment, then you do get light bulbs. And even if they only get a light bulb for one of those things, if they're personally driven with their health, I'm a vegan nutritionist and qualified as well in that area. So I get a lot of people coming to me and saying, God, it was the best thing I ever did for my skin, or it was the best thing I ever did for my digestion. Well, of course, it's going to be the best thing you do for your digestion, because when you go to bed at night, you're not having to process animal food. So your body's waking up refreshed, which means that it can hit training harder. You're recovering quicker because you've got better phytonutrients in your diet. And you can bamboozle them with all that kind of stuff. But for a lot of people, they have to go on that mini journey first, and they have to take that step to seeing a few benefits, getting leaner, becoming faster, sleeping better, feeling more compassionate, and feeling like, I am doing something benevolent, before they can then take it to that next step. But you are completely right with regards to your approach, and that you shouldn't really ever just do it overnight. Doing a cold turkey thing is the worst thing ever. It's got the highest bounce back rate, and you don't give yourself enough time. And I always say to people, if you are looking at going vegan, and I have so many people get in touch with me on Instagram and Twitter about this, and they say, do you know what, Lisa, you've inspired me and I want to go and do it. And I'm like, this is brilliant. That's what I live for. But be careful you don't do it too quick. And what I say to people is, you know what, for the first 5 or 6 weeks, just look for a dairy alternative to your milk and get your favourite milk sorted first, because that within itself is a minefield. Do I want almond milk? Do I want rice? Do I want soy? And the thing is, when you try them, they all make you feel slightly different anyway. So get that sorted, then go on and look for a butter replacement, then a cheese replacement, and just take it week by week, and give yourself a 10 to 12 week transition period, where during that time you've got all of your alternative sorted. You found your chicken alternative, you found your fish alternative, because they're all out there, rather than day one blitzing it, going to the supermarket, and inevitably what happens is people will go and they'll buy crap. Then they'll have a terrible time and say, oh my God, how can people be vegan? But it's because they've bought crap and they've not researched it. Because we can all be junk food vegans, we can all be junk food people, because junk food exists on any diet. But it's about keeping it clean and keeping it whole foods based if you want that kind of beneficial aspect to your sport, and also to the environment as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just because you're vegetarian and vegan doesn't mean that you're healthy, does it?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that is, a lot of people come to me and say that, and they say, well, do you eat unhealthy? Do you really have any snacks? I never see you eating anything unhealthy. And I do try and put things on Instagram, but I don't want to bore people with my food all the time. But I do at the weekends, I do relax it a little bit. I am fairly strict during the week. But the weekend, I might have a vegan pizza, or you might see me a vegan ice cream or a vegan cookie, but I won't be doing that every single day of the week. And I think that's where people fall down. They think, oh, it's vegan, so it must be healthy for me. I'll have it Monday through to Sunday. And then they're wondering why they're just getting health problems and stuff like that. And it's like any diet. If you don't eat clean, you're going to be really probably picking up a few problems along the way.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's also interesting, isn't it, that it's getting bigger, and it's the momentum's really taking off when you've got the fast food chains like Burger King taking on the Impossible Burger. And what do you think of that whole side of not just the vegetarian burgers, but they're actually making I don't know whether you've heard, they're making meat from Petri dishes now. What do you think of all that science, which in one sense, it's a bit strange and a bit weird and a bit alien, but on the other side, people who still want to eat meat, if they can go down that route, it's going to be better for the environment, and hopefully better for the animals. Like, you know what I mean? It's not ideal, but it's better.
Yeah, so you're talking about cell-based meats. So, yeah. I mean, it's quite an interesting one. Personally, it's not for me, because I am quite an old school vegan in that I won't even eat anything that remotely would taste like anything like meaty anyway, because it would just knock me sick. However, for the flexitarians of this world, or the new blood vegans, that kinds of, I call them new blood vegans, because that's just our marketing terminology and work, but for the ones that really do like the taste, and you've got to accept the fact that some people like the taste. I think it is the best thing ever, because if you can bring something that tastes amazing, that doesn't involve mass slaughter, then it's a winning format for those kind of people that want the steak or that want the chicken, etc. So I think it's got a fantastic place. Obviously, it's not for everyone, but then again, walking into McDonald's or Burger King and buying, a vegan meal isn't for everyone either. But again, for the new vegans that are coming out and that are making that transition, all of these things are making it a lot easier. And I'm a big advocate for anything in the marketplace that makes it easier for consumers to go on that transition journey, because anything that is going to impact on that in terms of them taking away and not having to consume as much meat obviously goes back in the chain to not having to kill as many animals. So it gets my vote completely. I know the grocer have been reporting on it recently, and quite a few of the food judges have tried it and they've said that they think it's fantastic. So if they can nail a taste, then I think that could be a perfect opportunity for the future, particularly with regards to the high consumption of meat. So people that are having meat sort of 3 to 5 times a week, I think it'd be a perfect opportunity to switch over to that.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. I was listening to a podcast of the creator of that Impossible Burger, and he said, well, it's not for vegans and it's not for vegetarians. That's not what we're doing it for. We're actually doing it for the people who are currently eating meat, and that's why they want it as near meat as possible.
100%.
To get that away from, so they don't have to start with actual animals, because so that was his rationale behind it. So which I thought was fair enough, because what's the point of giving something?
They've done so well. They really have. They've got some big contracts.
Yeah, and I think they're all starting. Obviously, they were the first, but they're all starting to look at alternatives now, which can only really be good.
Yeah, totally. So anything that is going to mean that fewer animals are sent to slaughter is a big tick in my book.
Absolutely perfect. So you started off vegetarian, then you became vegan. How did that develop into a business then? How did you get, obviously you had all that background experience. How did you decide well, first of all, you can tell us a little bit about your business, but how did you sort of get into the area that you're in?
Yeah, it's quite a strange one, really, because I used to be a consumer of a vegan licorice brand in the UK called Panda Licorice, which is actually one of the brands in my business now. And I absolutely love this brand. And I actually sent a speculative CV into at that point in time, the then managing director of Cedar Health, who were the distributors of Panda Licorice, and just basically sold myself and said, you're not going to get a better marketeer to work on this brand than someone that eats it every day and understands the positioning, etc. Now, he brought me in and interviewed me, and he said, I've got to be honest, I haven't got a role for you, but because of your passion and your commitment, your dedication, I'm going to make a role. So he made a role for me, and I joined Cedar Health. Oh God, it was actually after leaving Bravura Foods, so back in about 2006, 2007. And I worked predominantly on Panda Licorice, which is distributed in most of the main supermarkets in the UK. And then my business merged with another business called BBI Healthcare down in Wales. And I was the marketing director, and my business partner to this day was the then sales director. So we started, Carl Morris, his name is, we started working together on all the plans for licorice, and it didn't really fit within the portfolio because it was primarily a medical business that just had this licorice on the side. Right. So I ended up working for Panda directly, being based out of Finland, looking after Scandinavian markets and the US and the UK and Canada, and doing all of their international marketing. And it was at that time that they approached myself and Carl and said, you know what, because you work so well together, and Lisa's got a good handle on all the marketing across the western side of the world, we think that we'd like to just work with you guys. So we were fortunate in that when we set up Bravura Foods in 2011, we started that game with the Panda Licorice contract, which back then was worth about £2.5 million worth of business in the UK. So a huge contract to have on board when you started. So not really a normal setup where, you're scrimping and saving. Yes, we had to go over and do the loans we had to take a hell of a lot of personal guarantees out and commitments and everything like that, which was scary but necessary. And then we started that business. For anyone who doesn't know, Bravura Foods is basically a vegan distributor and a vegan brand builder. So we have our own brands and we distribute vegan brands, and both of those kind of brands, they all follow the same channel, and we put them into the supermarkets and UK high street retailers, etc. But as time went on, we decided, well, particularly myself, I was looking at the gaps in the market and getting frustrated by the fact that there wasn't any, certain vegan confectionery and things like that. So whenever there wasn't something on the market, we worked with some very patient people in the labs to be able to get our product development kit sorted and to be able to come up with some really good ideas for things that we knew people wanted. And for me, it was always an easy sell, going and pitching all these products in front of any of the supermarkets. As a consumer for that category, it makes it very, very easy because you're passionate, you know what the gap is and you know how to believe in it. And then it's just about putting some very, very cool branding around it, having some good marketing support and being able to support it in the trade, whether that's domestically on the UK market or internationally, because we do some business outside of the UK as well. So it really came about from personal frustrations of seeing products or seeing gaps products on the market and thinking we can do better than this. So we built from Panda Licorice on to other brands that we've got a whole variety of brands. We've got CBD drinks brands called Leaf Life. We've got sugar-free, gelatin-free, gluten-free confectionery, which is free from fellows. We have powdered peanut butter under the Peanut Hottie banner, and then we have a vegan biscuits brand called Vegan Bakery, obviously, as well as Panda Licorice. So all of those brands, we're trading with Sainsbury's, Asda, Tesco, Waitrose, TK Maxx, Holland & Barrett, Boots, all the big clients in the UK. We're growing really well, and we're growing as a business and also growing individually in the channels within the market. So it's a very positive story, but it is funny because when we first started the business, a lot of people were saying, do you really want to be going into this vegan market? It's very nichey and I'm not sure it's ever going to amount to anything. And that was back in 2011. And now, 10 the clocks forward, 10 years later, we have all of the main supermarkets actually physically ringing me up and ringing up the business for advice on how to arrange their vegan fixtures and for kind of contributions to their magazines or whatever it may be, writing articles for them and keeping a very close-knit community network to be able to push the vegan message out through the main supermarket network in the UK.
Yeah, brilliant. And to be honest, you can only see it going from strength to strength, can't you, the way things are going?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're growing as a business. The market's growing. All of our brands are in growth. Every year that goes by, Veganuary had its record number of participants this year, just short of 600,000. That's growing every single year. It's expected to be the biggest ever next year. So it's the biggest food movement and it's the biggest food trend for a real long time. We've been tracking it now kind of with a very close eye for the last 5 years particularly. And I've worked in confectionery, I've worked in soft drinks, I've worked in children's biscuits, I've worked in all the top FMCG markets, and never have I ever seen such exciting growth. So I can't complain for being able to work in such a fertile market.
Yeah, brilliant. It's like the perfect fit, isn't it? Everything that you've done's just come together, and it's just like, that is the road, and you're on it, and yeah, it's quite amazing when you look at the whole picture, how it's come
Absolutely.
about. So that's really good. Second thing I want to ask you about is your book.
Okay. Yeah, so I wrote the book Gone in 60 Minutes.
Yep.
Back in, I think it was about 2010. So named because you can read the book in 60 minutes. Because one of the things that I am appalled by and still appalled by to this day and age is that if you are someone getting into fitness and if you just want to know that, cut through all the crap and just know the things that make a difference in diet, in workouts, in supplements, in how to keep yourself motivated. You look at all these magazines, you look at all these books and journals, and they're like this, and they just put you off from day one. They are like, 20 inches, massive books. And I thought to myself, why doesn't someone just do something that's a bite-sized saviour that you can just read through? It's got workouts in there, It's got a perpetual training calendar if you haven't got a coach and you want to look at that. And it's not really aimed at the multi-sport community as such, because we're all kind of along the way with regards to knowing what we want to do. It's aimed more so to the people that are probably trying to get off the couch and trying to dip the toe in the market with regards to understanding what they can do to make a difference to their actual physiques, to their insides, to their mindset. And rather than going in the gym and just plugging away for an hour on a cross trainer and having lost time and not really understanding the effects of that on the stress hormones, of course, and things like that, it basically delivers very easy to understand information over what you need to do with your diet, the supplements that you need to be looking at to make a difference, how you should be working out to get a good and to carve a good physique if that's what you want to do, and to lose weight and to lean up, and more importantly, how to stay motivated throughout it all. And it's just it's a reference book that people can chuck in the gym bags. A lot of people tag me in actually when they're in the gym, because they take it to the gym with them and say, oh, I'm doing your body blitz workout or this, that and the other. And it's just there as a reference tool to really help people kind of come to terms with the things that they need to do. And it's full of some, I'd say controversial, but research proven shortcuts. Things that you can do to burn fat quickly, things that you can do to get lean quickly. And they're always the questions that people ask me, always on Instagram and on Twitter and Facebook. You know, how do I burn the fat? What is the quickest way to burn the fat? So there's a lot of that in there. And there's some good case studies in there as well of people that I've worked with that have lost weight and that have managed to reduce body fat, etc. Because primarily, originally when I first got into fitness, I was always a cardio bunny and never picked up weights. And I think there's a big stigma with that. A lot of women don't want to use weights because they think they're going to be bulky.
As if it was that easy.
It really, exactly. If it was, we'd all be on the bodybuilding stage winning all cups. But yeah, I think that it tackles that as well, and the importance of lifting weights, which I'm a big advocate of. And I know a lot of runners and the like don't really kind of look at that area, but I lift weights 3 to 4 times a week minimum. And that really impacts and helps me with my running and my cycling, and I like the buzz that I get off it anyway. And it keeps all the muscles strong, and keeps me nice and lean as well. So to be honest, it covers all those kind of things, the things that you want to ask, but you don't know where to get that resource from. It's all in the book.
Cool. Right, well, we'll stick that on the show notes as well, and we'll put a link to your business and to your book, and we'll get that out there for the people who listen to
thank you. Yeah, the book itself is actually available on Amazon, amazon.co.uk, and also on WH Smith's as well.
Cool. Oh yeah, I saw that when I had a look for it. Good stuff. Lovely to meet you. Lovely to speak.
Oh, lovely to meet you.
Yeah, all right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, what a fantastic journey Lisa's had. And it's great to see somebody successful in the business life and the sporting life. And it's great to listen to somebody who's so passionate about their lifestyle, Lisa's veganism, and how it's right the way across her life, from sporting to business to it's all encompassing, and it gives us food for thought, I think. And I really appreciated when she said one step at a time if you're looking to go down that path, because I think they're wise words. So thank you once again, Lisa, for coming on the pod, and I hope we can catch up some point face to face. And good luck with the race in November. I'm sure you're going to smash it. So on to the lifestyle hack this episode, and as I said earlier in the pod, it's about sprouting seeds. And I've started sprouting seeds after listening to and doing a bit of research. Listened to a podcast, and there was a guy on there, and he was talking about how easy it was, for one thing, and the benefits you get from these seeds once you've sprouted them. So basically, I got a couple of jars, and they're on stands, and they have like a drip tray. A couple of tablespoons of seeds. I usually use broccoli seeds, and I'll discuss why in a moment. So you put a couple of tablespoons of seeds in the jar and fill them with water and leave them for 24 hours to let them soak. And then you can either put them in a cupboard in the dark and let them sprout, or you can leave them in the light but not direct sunlight, and yeah, they'll sprout either way, either in the cupboard in the dark or in the light. So I've done a little bit of a test to see which is best, and they both sprout pretty much the same. However, the ones in the cupboard are a bit yellower, so you've got to take those out and put them on the windowsill for sunlight, and then they do eventually go green. So very, very simple. The other thing you've got to do is you've got to wash them in the morning. So you've got to rinse them out and let them drip dry, and also again in the evening. But if they're in your sight when you're washing the pots, maybe they're on your windowsill like mine are, when you're washing your pots, after you've finished, you just give them a rinse out and put them back on the drip stand, and it's great. So yeah, the dead easy to grow and really, really good for you. And broccoli sprouts are supposed to be one of the most beneficial, because they're rich in phytochemicals, especially in one in particular, which is sulforaphane, which is a phytochemical. And the young sprouts are supposed to have 10 to 100 times more nutritional benefits than actually eating broccoli itself. They basically help reduce inflammation, and 70% of all deaths are due to chronic inflammation. And scientists have deduced that sulforaphane is said to help detoxify, fight malignant cells and protect you. And there's all sorts of things that it protects: your skin, your eyesight, your heart, and it does this by inhibiting the production of inflammatory proteins and reduce oxidative stress. So that's the life hack for this episode. Bit of food for thought, and if you're interested, give it a go, give it a whirl. So thank you once again for listening, and that's it for episode 35. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you want to get in touch, drop us an email at agegroupmultisportpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at amp_1967. We're on Facebook at ampgb. You can get all the podcasts at agegroupmultisportpodcast.buzzsprout.com. You'll find all the previous podcasts on there. We're also on YouTube at ampgb. You'll find all the podcasts on there as well. And you can also find us on Twitter at Age Group Multisport Podcast. And I think that's about it. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And remember, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.